I've got some dollar books from a half-price books, some dollar books from a local shop, and then some 50-cent books from a different local shop. Check it out. Hi everyone and welcome. My name is Chris and this is Northgarden Comics. As I'm looking at this stack of books that I have to share with you today, I'm realizing it's pretty varied. I've got 3 different shops and 2 different outings that are represented here and a lot of different titles. I've got some books that are filling runs and then just some individual books that are simply one-offs, and made me realize that it may look like I just go out and do these hunts, kind of just bandy about and buy some things, but there really is a method to my madness. And when I show you the actual books, I'll try to, and I do try historically, to explain a little bit about why I'm buying that particular book, but I also thought I would lead in with just a couple of the basic guidelines or principles I use every time I go out. And the first one is how much I'm going to spend. I know going in how much I've got for spending on back issues, either that particular outing or that particular month. I work on a fixed budget for comic books, and that's a pretty clear deciding factor for what comes home with me and what gets left behind. The other big thing that I have going in is my wish list. I'll show you this on my iPad right now. I use the CLZ Comics app, and so it's a downloadable app. I have it on my phone. I'm going out and it's got, all the titles listed there that I have on my wish list. There are presently 1,220 comics on my wish list, and that doesn't include what I would call obvious keys. So X-Men #1, Amazing Fantasy #15, early Fantastic Fours, really just about any of those older books for characters or titles that I like. I don't bother putting them on my wish list because I don't expect to find them in the $1 and $2 range that I'm typically hunting in. But of course, if I did, I would grab them. For example, one time I found an X-Men #25 without a cover for just 25 cents. So of course I'm going to take that home. The way I address that, I would just look at not my wish list, but my collection side of things to see what books do I have and then know if I'm buying a duplicate or not. So I go in there, how much am I going to spend? What books am I looking for? And then basically I dive into the bins, and a lot of what I'm going to buy is, to state the obvious, is dictated by what they have. And that will guide where I'm looking. I don't go in with a predetermined notion of I'm looking for this particular book today. It's just, what do they have? And as I see what they have, that helps me narrow down, okay, what part of my wish list am I going to be looking at? So all that kind of preliminary stuff being said, let's get to the books. So these first books are from a half-price books location in my area. I'm fortunate enough to have about 6 within the Twin Cities metro that are accessible to me, and I try to make a habit of hitting them once a month, once every couple months each, just to see as their stock rotates. But I came away with 1, 2, 3, 4, about 7 $1 books on this particular outing. First one, Quasar #17. This is a fun buy, I would say. It would be called a key, but not because it's highly valuable or super significant. I call this a fun key. What makes this stand out is it contains an unofficial, unauthorized, presumed appearance of a DC character, Barry Allen, aka The Flash. Just show you here. So the story is that there's one of the elders of the universe called the Runner. He comes on the scene and wants to gather all of Marvel Universe's fastest heroes and challenge them to a race to see who's the fastest of all. And over the course of this, near the end of the book, this little event happens right here. Somebody unknown just shows up and the character says, I have form again. Where am I? This is not my space. I'm somewhere else. And then, of course, he says, I don't even remember my name. And he says, all I know is there's this ball of energy like lightning inside me, filling me with the need to move, to run. And you can see his costume. He's the blonde hair, very red and yellow, very reminiscent of the Flash. And then he shows up again, he's running, and then at the end of the issue here, the runner questions him here, and because he won the race, and says, "Who are you?" And he says, "I'm not sure." And then in quotes it says, "Buried alien?" Something like that, which sounds a little silly, of course, because buried alien isn't even a name. But he's saying, my name sounds something like Buried Alien or Barry Allen. So that's the fun thing about this book. You've got the unofficial appearance of a DC character in a Marvel comic. So not going to make you rich, but just a fun little addition for $1. The next several books are all from the Daredevil series, Daredevil Volume 2. This is a volume that I'm working on. I'm not trying to collect the entire run. I am trying to get the entire portion of the run that Brian Michael Bendis wrote, which runs from issue 16, I want to say, up to issue 81. And they had at Half Price Books, they had, looks like 6 of the issues, almost all in succession, that I needed. And that's one of the things that guides my decisions as well. If there's a run of 100 books that I'm trying to get, and they have issue 2, 17, 44, 83, and 99, something like that, really spread apart, I'm not going to buy all those random issues. I do try to break that down. If it's, say, it's a 100-issue run, I'll try to find the first 10, and then the second, and the third. I'll break it up that way. Or I'll break that pattern if there is a cluster of books all together in sequence that I can get at once, and that was the case here. These are all books that are towards the end of that Brian Michael Bendis run, and I had the last couple issues, but I needed some of those close to the last issues, so I picked up issue 68, 69. I think they had 70, but it may have been somewhat damaged, so I left it behind. 71. 72, 73, and 74. And that one I really like because that's my favorite cover of the run there. But I think with that, there's only 1 or 2 more issues towards that end of the run that I still need. So I may start to, kind of bookend the run that I'm looking for and close the gap that way, but try to do it somewhat systematically. Otherwise, you're just running around grabbing random issues. Those are the books from Half Price Books, $1 a piece. The next set of books are from a local shop in Minneapolis. It's called Comic Book College. It may be the oldest comic book store in the Twin Cities, or maybe the oldest by a single owner, oldest in one location. It's got some statistic associated with it. They're now in a second location. They had to move a few years back. I think it was due to rents being increased. But I hadn't been in there in several months, and they usually have a good selection of 50-cent books, $1 books, $2 books, and they had been saying how they've been adding stock to their 50-cent books, and so I figured I'd go check it out. And I only came away with five issues, only one of which was actually on my wish list to begin with, and I'll show you that in a minute. But the first thing I came out with was Iron Man number 178. This is not on my wish list. This is an example of a book. I like the character Iron Man, and it's, relatively speaking, it's a little bit lower number. I have some of this first volume in the kind of low 200s range of issues, but things below that, if I pick them up, they're in good condition, it's a newsstand copy, and 50 cents is, the price is right on that, I'll grab that. So that was just again, another kind of fun grab that way. This is the book that was on my wish list. This is A Plus X. This was a short run series, but it was telling 2 different team up stories per issue. And issue number 3 has Gambit with Hawkeye, and then Storm and Black Panther. And I incorrectly, it turns out, thought that this backup story here, the second story with Gambit and Hawkeye, was drawn by Chris Bachalo, and his art style is one I really like, and I usually try to grab up as much of his art as I can. I thought he drew that story. He did not. The only Chris Bachalo art in this book are those 2 circles right there. So a little disappointing in that sense, but hopefully the stories will still be good. I haven't had a chance to read that one yet. And then these next 3 books are from a title. I had some of the very first volume from Image back in the early 90s, and nothing since. And this is an example of, I was in there for a while, I was going through books, wasn't finding a lot, honestly. I found only those 2 issues, but didn't want to just buy 2 issues for 50 cents. It's kind of that itch you want to scratch of buying some comic books, and I hadn't satisfied it yet. So I found these 3 that I picked up. Very low risk buy, of course, because they're only 50 cents a piece. And these were cover buys. So this is from Cyberforce. This is volume 4, I believe, which is around 2013. And the covers are all by Mark Silvestri, and his is another style that I really like, and he's the creator of Cyberforce. But here is Cyberforce number 3. This is a cool, again, these are all cover buys. Number 3, number 4, and number 5. This volume of Cyberforce looks like it was started or funded by a Kickstarter program, and it ran for about 12 issues, I want to say. And it looks like Silvestri did the covers. He did not do the interior art, but he did all the covers. So if I can find them for 50 cents a piece, I may pick those up. They're just, like I said, they're for 50 cents a piece. They're easy to collect. I'll enjoy them for a while, and we'll just really no thought beyond that. Now we'll shift gears to the last location. These are a haul from a store that is sadly no longer in business. I was never able to get there more than really just this once, because they were far from my location, so not convenient for me to get to at all. But they were doing a sale on this particular day. This was before I knew they were going to close, but they were holding a sale where all back issues that were priced $5 or less were only $1 a piece. So of course that was attractive to me. I wanted to go check it out. So I spent some time there, talked to the owner, rummaged through the back issues, and came away with, 7 or 8 books here. So first one up, this is Amazing Spider-Man. This is volume 2 of Amazing Spider-Man, number 698. This is part of a story, I think 698, 699, and 700 are part of the story leading up to the Superior Spider-Man, where Dr. Otto Octavius dies, but his mind goes into the body of Peter Parker, and Peter Parker's mind dies or is trapped in there. I haven't read the whole thing yet, but this is the lead up to that, so I wanted to collect that. Another example of how I collect some back issues, not collecting all of these, but wanted that particular story. So I've got that issue. Again, these were all dollar books. Then we have a Captain America from the first volume, number 362. This is part of the Bloodstone Hunt. This is part 6 of 6. Heard the story is good, and I think it's got at least 1 or 2 first appearances in this story. It's one that I think Crossbones, his first appearance is in here, but one that I've been trying to piece together casually. I see these every now and again. They're not always in the best condition, but when I can pick it up for $1 and it's in good shape, I grab it. Next we have Marvel Age number 99. I have a bunch of these from when I was a kid when they were first coming out. This one, again, $1, is considered a key, but this has the first preview of the Infinity Gauntlet, which actually came out a few months prior to the series, and so I figured why not for $1? I'll grab that. It's not in the best shape. If you can't see it down here, but as I run my finger along the bottom, it may have originally had some water damage because it's a little bit wavy, so it wouldn't even have much value as it is. That was just more, hey, I found this minor key for $1, so I grabbed it. Then we've got another one. This is part 1 of 3, I think it was. Kind of a little mini series. Marvel Superhero Contest of Champions. Issue number 1 there. Picked it for $1. Here we have Ms. Marvel number 1. I don't remember how many issues this volume ran for. This was obviously before she was Captain Marvel, but yeah, he had number 1. It was $1. It's got some, you can see some spine ticks here with some color breaking, so it's not in the best condition. But again, I'm not necessarily looking for something. Don't have any plans on sending these out to be graded. I just like to have the book, and part of the excitement or the thrill for me of buying these books is because I can get them for such a cheap price. And then these last 3, these are my favorite. These are some of my favorite and best pickups of all time, dare I say. And I say that with a little bit of hesitancy because many of you may be thinking of completely different books and likely are thinking of completely different books than what I'm thinking of. These are some of my they're not grails, but they're highly sought after books that I am not willing to pay a lot of money for because I just want them in my collection. I don't want to pay a lot for them, I just want to add them. I've mentioned in many other videos what a fan of Transformers I am, and that was the franchise that got me into toy collecting as a kid, and then it transitioned me to comic books as a kid. And so that first volume of Transformers ran for 80 issues, and prior to a few years ago, I had, I want to say like 74 of the 80 issues, all of which I got when I was a kid when they first came out, but there was like 6 or so that I was missing, and they were all in that range of issue 70 to 80. And the problem that poses is now it's so much longer after, they are more valuable, and largely because they were lower print runs. So they didn't make as many, which means now it's going to be even harder to find, and when you do find them, the price tag is going to be higher. So I haven't been very successful in finding those just out and about while I was looking, but on this particular occasion, to me, I struck gold because they had 3 actually of the 5 issues that I still needed to complete my run. So he had issue number 72, Scorponok and Shockwave on the cover there. Number 73, and a really cool cover, number 78 with Galvatron on the cover. I can't tell you how excited I was to find these. And again, similar to that Marvel Age, they're a little wavy on the bottom, so maybe they got wet at one point. There's a little kind of discoloration here, but for the price of $1, I will accept, you know, a lot of that kind of little bit less great condition because the price is so good. And I don't want to spend $25 or $50 or something like that on this book because I love getting it, I read it, and now it's going to sit in a box in my collection, and it'll just be a source of pride that I found it. But you know, great that I could find it for $1, and I didn't have to break the bank to find it. So now there's just 2 more issues, and one of the things I kind of always remind myself, and I'll tell you as well, when you're hunting, one of the key ingredients to successful hunting of being able to find good books at great prices is patience. You know, I didn't know that I'd ever find these, and lo and behold, I did. I don't know that I'll ever find those final 2 issues that I need, but I know it's possible, so I'll keep looking. And in the meantime, even though I don't find necessarily those issues, I got 1,200 books on my wish list, so there's always something that I'm going to find, whether I'm looking for it or not. There's always so many cool books out there to pick up, and great stories to read that I'll never be wanting for things to find. One last book to show you, and this is one that my wife Nicole just picked up for me. She's a thrifter, crafter, DIYer. She's got 3 YouTube channels, got a wide audience there. And in her thrifting, she often goes to the Goodwill outlet bins and will find things for ridiculously cheap prices at the bins. I would love to find comic books, but they rarely, if ever, have comic books. Only twice now have I indirectly discovered comic books there. One was another YouTuber, Clay, that I know through my wife Nicole, and he picked up 3 comic books at the bins for me and gave those to me. And then Nicole found this one comic book just at a recent trip to the bins, and I mean the price winds up being, because they weigh things, and so it winds up being like, this may have been a nickel, but this is a book, nothing significant from a key collectible perspective, but Mythos, this was a series that Marvel did. I think they did 6 one-shots, which were all written by Paul Jenkins, painted art by Paolo Rivera, and he painted all the interiors. So that was just a cool retelling of the Captain America origin, and they have others that I think are X-Men, Hulk, probably Fantastic Four, Iron Man, Thor. I'm guessing at what those other 5 are, but there were 6 in total. So that was the last book to be able to show you there. All right, that's going to do it for me, and that's going to wrap up this dollar bin diving comic book adventure. I hope you saw something that you liked. If so, let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. If you like this kind of content, please hit that subscribe button. And if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're just not ready for the fun to be over and want to see more, I've got a link up here in one of these spots where you can check out another video to see more good books that I got for great prices. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.